Excellent. So Richard says your book is a great book. So I'm in the midst of reading it. I haven't completely done it yet, but I'm getting very close to it. It's a fantastic read. Thank you for the opportunity to actually even read this book. It has some very good insights, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So Sharon, you started the Big Play movement. What was the premises behind the Big Play movement?
Well, I would imagine that everybody watching and listening to this has had something happen in their life that kind of stops them in their tracks, right? And do you have to retool and refocus on where you're going? And about almost 6 years ago, I lost my youngest son. And even though I stayed busy, everything just kind of stopped. I had always played very big, always looking for the largest associations. And when that happened, I just kind of put my life in neutral. I was still busy because luckily I had quite a bit of success. So I had lots of speaking engagements, but I haven't written a book in 4 years. And so I really was thinking about retiring. And about a year ago, I realized that that didn't feel too good.
Yep.
I got a little pushback from my family and my friends. And I said, I need to re-engage and really play big again.
Yep.
And that's what gives you energy when you know you're serving the greatest number of people. And you do that through the power of association. And so what I decided to do with all this new technology that you and I are talking about this morning was to share what I'm doing as I'm doing it so that other people can share and follow along and do it in their lives.
Yep.
And by doing that, we actually make a greater impact. And so the whole Play Big movement is about being number one in your field, living your legacy. Let's not wait till we're gone.
Yep.
Live it every day, and creating maximum impact.
Yep.
And so I invite everybody. I have a private Facebook group called Play Big Movement, but you can also go to www.playbigmovement.com. And so I invite everybody to join me. It's free to join. There's no charge. And I share each week what I'm doing and really how to take your business to the next level. Let's not own a job. Yeah, let's not own a job. Let's own a business. So
yeah, absolutely. And really, it's all about learning, right? Everything. I mean, you and I have had a couple of discussions about how everything in life really relates back to learning. I mean, that is my mission. That's my goal in life, is to make an impact on the world through positive learning and through opportunities to learn with people like yourself, right? That have this vast amount of knowledge and wisdom, not just intellectually and tactical, but also from experiences. And that's you don't get that at 20 years old. I mean, you get some experiences at 20 years old, but you sure don't get it when we're older in our life. And those experiences really help to shape what we're trying to do. And especially when we're trying to play big.
well, and it's really important to find that mentoring, and whether it be through books or through podcasts like this, or whether you have a one-on-one mentor, because those of us that are mentors have been there. We've made the mistakes and hopefully learned from them.
Yeah.
And so when I have clients that work with me one-on-one, I'm there to open my network to them, to help open doors so that they can grow quicker, have success more quickly.
Yep.
But I'm also there to help them steer around the pitfalls so that they don't make mistakes along the way. And that's why it's so important, because business is a team sport.
Yep.
And it's very important to surround yourself with people that want you to be successful.
Yep.
And to make sure you have people around you who are going to pull you up to the next level.
Absolutely. And if you don't have that, you're not going to get that next. You cannot do it alone. If there's one thing that I've learned so far in business, is that you cannot do it alone, and you really do need to surround yourself with great people, but people you can trust. And that's really important.
That's right. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And we live in fact, I'm just finishing up an article for a magazine on the age of authenticity and how important it is, because with social media, you don't have control over what's being said about you. So you make sure that whatever you do is positive and energizing, so that when people are out there talking about you, it's as a positive impact that you've had on their life.
Absolutely. And so Sharon, I mean, we've talked a little bit on and off camera about Play Big and some of the big plays that you've made in your career, and some of the plays that you haven't made in your career. So let's talk about the biggest play that you missed out on and you didn't actually activate?
Well, I think, I talk about the power of the phone call, and my personal philosophy is why not? Why do something? Why not play big? Why not take the road less traveled? And I think from a standpoint of what we're doing now, I should have done it, 3 years ago. And that is really reaching out to those people who know, like, and trust me, and
Yeah,
have audiences that will benefit from the messages of playing big. I've never been one to be out there to try and steal the limelight. I'm much more of a, I like serving more than selling,
yeah,
and it's something that I now realize, and everyone watching and listening, you're an expert in your own field, and there are people out there that can benefit from what you
yeah.
know, and it's important to make sure that you share it in a way that you impact the most people.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've learned is that although we speak in our own language, if you will, and we live in that language all the time, but the language that we know and the expertise that we know isn't necessarily language that somebody else's knows. And so, although we think it's common and everyday topic of conversation, I always think, okay, so I'm speaking to somebody at a level of a B or a C, but they're only at a level of an A, and there's always somebody who's above you for information and wealth and knowledge, and that all comes back to learning and surrounding yourself with people you
Well,
trust.
it's very important. I mean, I think that actually is one of my talents and my strengths, hence the success of Rich Dad, is taking difficult, complex subjects and making them simple
Yeah,
and easy to
yeah,
understand. And I think, when you're writing a book, you need to understand who your audience is. But, today you want to write about the seventh grade level, depending on
yeah,
what it is. Obviously, if you're writing a technical
yeah,
manual, that's
yeah,
different. But, you want to make sure that you're speaking in a way that the people you're speaking at the level of the person that is reading, whether they are higher or lower in education, and you doesn't matter. The issue is, are you going to share with them instead of dictate to
yeah,
them? And so think of that. If you're going to share with them, then you are equals, all
yeah,
right? So you're on a level playing field. And so you're sharing, not telling.
yeah,
And I think that's the reason behind the success of many of the books that I've written, is that it's not one that we dictate to people,
yeah,
telling people what to do. We
yeah,
share what others have done, and how, so that the reader can find someone that they might say, oh, I don't relate to this person at all. But the next story, they go, oh gosh, I can do what she did. And that is the magic of
yeah.
communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, people can obviously they can pick up your book and buy your book. And this isn't your only book that you have, obviously. But you're moving into the online course space. And so now people get to learn from you anytime, anywhere. Um, that's amazing. So you just completed your first big play course, correct?
Yes, I
Yep.
actually I have an online course on Think and Grow Rich for Women. I have
Yep.
another online course on the components, the essential components of a successful business, which
Business.
I did with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that I'm launching right now, which is kind of in a soft launch phase, is the Play Big Movement course. And it
Yep.
really is two different courses in one. The first course is kind of in there for free, and it's helping people that are financially broken get to break even, be able to understand how to get out of bad debt, how
Yep.
to really start focusing on building wealth, not income.
Yep.
And then going from break even to financially free is the main course. And that is really understanding the power of association, the power of building that platform. Too many people don't take the time to build the platform. And so the Play Big course is there for anyone truly looking for what they need to do to open that next door, to get to the
Yep.
next level, to
Yep.
really understand that in order to be financially free, you need to have assets, and you need to buy, build, or create assets. And we go through the steps in doing each of those.
Excellent, excellent. And so they can get that on, where can they buy that, Sharon?
Go right into
Okay,
playbigmovement.com. You can also go through SharonLechter.com.
okay,
And right now we have an introductory price structure for it. So we welcome anyone to participate, and we're excited about it. We're getting great feedback. And as part of that, we have this private Facebook group so that you still have access to me. We still can answer
yep,
questions. obviously the price of the course is very inexpensive, so I don't have time to speak with everybody individually, but I
No,
have the opportunity to really answer questions in a public forum. So it's like a mastermind. So you take the course and then you're part of the Play Big Movement mastermind where you have access to me.
excellent. And so people can ask questions and gain access to you. And like you said, you can't answer them all, but you can answer the majority that are always the same question, perhaps. So Angela,
And what's wonderful is that other people that are taking the course will jump in and share their experience. And that's the power of the
yeah,
mastermind.
absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Eric. And we've got Judge Graham here as well. So thank you. So one of this, when I was reading your book, I learned that your dad was in the Navy, and your dad had a profound impact on you growing up, and really, shaped you to who you are today. And so, what was the biggest learning that you took away with your dad?
Well, my parents, I was one of the early women in business,
Yeah,
so, but I never looked at that as a detriment. My parents basically, and my dad in particular, said, you can do anything you want to. You just put your mind to it. You have the ability and the talent to succeed. And my dad only had a third grade education, but ended
yeah,
up running the engineering school for the Navy. So he's
yeah,
totally self-taught. My sister and I were the first generation in our family to go to college. So it's, he really encouraged me. I used to ask my parents all the time, they're both gone now, but what did you do to me? I want to bottle it because they never had to ask me if I did my homework. So it's like, I don't know what it was, but the way they raised me, it was like you take responsibility
yeah,
for your own life. And I think if people could understand that they are where they are today because of the choices they made before today. And if you want something different in your life, just start making different choices.
yeah,
And that's something that for me, I've all, as humans, it's almost inherently natural for us to want to lay blame or justify things that happen to us. And it's like, well, no, be accountable. Oops, this happened. Maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe instead of taking the action I knew I should have, I just didn't.
yeah.
And so this is the consequence. And if we can really start focusing, and the number one thing with my dad was every night he would ask me, Sharon, have you added value to someone's life? Now he's been
Mhm.
gone 12 years, but I still ask myself that every night, have I added value to someone's life today? And I think if everybody would take on that aspect of service and of
Yeah.
giving, the world would be a lot better
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So.
Well, and there's lots of, you mentioned something about accountability, and I think today, and this is my opinion, not anybody else's opinion, but my opinion, that if people were more accountable to their own actions, what a greater place the world would be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, that means that we are not, looking over our shoulder. We're not fear of being criticized. We're basically saying, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it.
yeah.
And I own the decisions that I make. And if I make a stupid decision, hopefully I won't make the same decision again.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and I think as women, I mean, you talk about this in your book a little bit. There's this idea of a work-life balance. And one of the things that I've really probably in the last year come to realize is that I always struggled with, oh my God, I need to be here and I need to be here and I need to be there. And as a mother and as a wife and as a businesswoman and I have to do, this for my clients. And it just never seems to balance itself in the social role of what people think a work-life balance is. And one of the things that I realized is, screw it. This is what works for me. This is how my balance is in life. And that's what I'm going to own and accept. And when I did that, it changed everything for me. And so I hope if there's any ladies or gentlemen who are watching, that when you make a conscious decision in how your work-life balance fits for you and not the way that it should be, that makes a profound impact on your life. And I know it made a profound impact on yours because you talk about it in the book. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, absolutely. Now, the Think and Grow Rich for Women follows the same chapter outline as the original Think and Grow Rich book,
Yeah.
except for one additional chapter at the end. And that one additional chapter is called One Big Life.
Hmm.
And a dear friend of mine, actually, that's her personal branding. I don't believe in work-life balance. I think, balance, the only place balance belongs is the yoga studio and dance studio. Because, we spend so much time worrying about being in balance that we waste precious time today doing
Yeah.
that. And understand that you have work, you have your spiritual life, your financial life, your family life, your work life, all of those things come together. And so there's many facets that create who you are. And so you have one big life. And if you wake up today and you're unhappy that you didn't spend enough time with your kids yesterday, don't spend precious time beating yourself up today. Just make a different
Yep.
decision today
Absolutely.
so that you spend more time with your kids today, because we are all humans, which means we make mistakes, but we have the opportunity to focus on every aspect of our life.
Yeah.
And one of the definitions that I share in the book, and I share it from every stage because it impacts people around the globe, and it impacted me in a huge way. And it goes to what you were just saying, is to worry, is to pray for what you don't want.
Yeah.
And that means that you're focused on negative outcomes. You're worrying about something, so you're focused on negativity. And when I catch myself, because I happen to be a champion worrier, I stop and I go, okay, Sharon, stop focusing on what you don't want to have happen and flip the switch and start focusing on what I
You
do
do
want
want
to
to
have
have.
happen. And it's actually, it's magical. It
It
really
is.
does impact you in such a huge way.
Yeah. And I think too, there's, you only have so many hours in the day. And I think one of the things in a balanced life or a very rich life is being present in that particular moment. So when you decide, I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes with my children, be present in that 20 minutes, because that 20 minutes can have a way more profound impact than sitting with them for an hour and you're at your phone and you're distracted and you're doing all these other things.
And it's, I tend to I get so sad. It makes me sad when I go to dinner and I see the next table and it's a family, parents and two kids, and
Yeah.
every one of them has their phone in their face.
Yeah.
And it's like, at least this, now you're around a table together, talk to each
Yeah.
other, have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's such an important thing.
It is.
But it's the world we live in. I said, with all these kids, we're gonna end up having to have thumb replacement surgery because of all the
Well,
texting. But it's something,
absolutely.
but it is the world we live in, and it's changing. And I think it's really important to realize that it is that personal touch, as well, as much as everything's gone electronic, the younger generation, this is another article I'm writing, the younger generation, they really believe in authenticity.
Yeah,
And
they
so
do.
if you say one thing and do another, you're probably going to be called out on it. And it's
Absolutely.
important to understand that as much as you want to impact a larger audience, you still have the most important audience right in your house,
Yeah.
and that is your family.
Yeah.
And making sure that you are present for them and that you are there to really encourage them to stand in their own power.
Yeah.
And one of the things I talk about when I talk about money is, people say we can't afford it. Well, that's a negative statement and it closes your mind. And your parents may have said that to you. And if you're saying it to your kids, you're actually putting fear in them about money. So instead
Yeah.
of saying we can't afford it, ask, how can you afford it?
Yeah.
And that asking that question opens the mind. It triggers the entrepreneurial spirit. And it's amazing the difference, reaction you'll see in your children. Instead
Yeah.
of saying we can't afford it, say, well, how can we afford it?
Afford it. Yeah.
And let them answer the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, that absolutely. It is, yeah. I'm just saying I'm stumbling because I'm thinking of a conversation that I recently had with my children, and it was exactly that. If I caught myself saying, "Well, no, we can't afford to do that right now," and then I'm like, "No, well, wait a minute. We can afford to do that, but what are you going to give up in order to do that? And is it worth it?"
Mm-hmm.
And trying to teach them, there's not everything. You cannot have everything in life just because somebody said, well, now we're going to go here, or we're going to do that, or you're going to buy this. You have to earn it, and you have to make smart decisions on what's the priority.
That's right. And you said earlier about the various roles that you play. I do this one exercise in seminars I do all over the world. And I go, list out with one word monikers who you are. Who are you? And so when I first did it, it was wife, mother, entrepreneur. Now I would add grandmother, author. But I realized that I didn't write my own name. And that's every audience I am around the world. Fewer than 2 in 100 will raise their hand when I ask if you wrote your own name. And that's because, particularly as women, but also men, we tend to define ourselves through the roles we play.
Yep. Yep.
I define myself as a wife, a mother, a grandmother. And I've finally realized, but I'm still working on it, is that if I'm a better Sharon, then I'm a better wife, a better mother, a better grandmother.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's the thing that people need to understand. This the old put your, oxygen mask on first, but it is, you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're going to run out of energy and you're going to deprive the people
Yep.
you love of you being there, healthy, wealthy, and wise, because you haven't taken care of yourself. And
Yep.
it's important that each of us pay attention to making sure that we take care of us,
Yep.
and then we'll be better in all the roles that we play.
Well, and it's I think of the analogy when you're in the plane. What do they tell you when you get in the plane? If the plane crashes, what's the first thing you do? You don't put the mask on the person beside you, you put the mask on the person yourself, because you then are in a situation and control of how you can help more people. But if you're helping everybody else and not yourself, then what happens, right? So it's no different than what you're saying. Exactly. And I think too, one of the things when I'm speaking on stage and I'm talking about learning and opportunities, I'll often ask them, what is your biggest investment? And very few people will say themselves, that they're actually going to dedicate time, money, and resources to invest in themselves. And I know you invest in yourself, have very wisely in your professional development. So Sharon, when you're learning, what is the first thing that you do? Do you pick up a book? Is it an online course? And how much in a day do you invest in yourself and your learning?
Well, I think it probably varies, because sometimes I'm in writing mode, and so I'm immersed in that for days or weeks at a time. But absolutely, I attend and speak at webinars and seminars all over the world, and I always, a lot of speakers fly in, walk on stage, and fly out. In almost every case, I try to be there at the beginning and stay to the end, so that I learn from the other people that are there. It also allows me to get to know the audience. So if I hear the speakers before me, then I can make my talk even more relevant to what's been said before me. And I think that's an investment into the audience.
Yep.
But it also helps me learn from other people. And what happens is, when you get to the senior level as a speaker or something, you can almost be in a position where you stop learning. And it's important for each of us to continue learning and understand what's happening in our industry, because you go from expert to authority. Well, in order to be remaining an authority, you have to continue investing in your knowledge and understanding to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in your field. And so I had a company that is in blockchain education come to me, and they wanted me to be a spokesperson for their company. And I said, well, I am investing the time right now to get to understand blockchain and cryptocurrency. I don't believe that I'm an authority there yet. And so, give me a few months and we'll talk again. But I also believe in authenticity. So I don't want to act like an authority on something that I'm still learning. And it's something that it's very important that each of us invest in not just becoming an expert, but staying an expert, becoming that authority, and staying on the cutting edge of our field. And that's, you can't say, I'm done, I'm now an expert, I don't need to know anything else, because that's a very short-sighted and a very short-lived expertise. So each of us have an opportunity. And learning keeps us young. We talk about being curious and creative. That curiosity is what gets our juices flowing and adrenaline going, and it gets us excited about new things. So I encourage
Absolutely.
everyone to continue investing time in yourself, whether it be through audio learning, reading books, attending events, looking at things online. There's so many more ways to educate yourself than there were a few years ago. So
Absolutely.
it's really, you have an opportunity to do it whether when you're driving, when you're in bed, when you're sitting at your desk. There's really not an excuse not to keep yourself
No,
informed.
there isn't anymore. And you hit the nail on the head. An excuse, right? It's an excuse. And what is 10 minutes of a day to learn something new? My grandfather always said to me, Lisa, today is a good day. And I'd say, Grandpa, why is today a good day? He says, I learned something new. Every day you should learn one thing new. And that's how you gain knowledge and perspective, and you grow not as just as a person, but as a, a family and what have you. So I've always tried to, follow my grandfather's footsteps and learn something new every day. Whether that's an experience that I happen to have that taught me something new, whether it's a communication. My greatest learning moment was emojicons. So I happened to put a text in and to a friend and said, oh my God, this happened today, and rocked my world. And I'm thinking, yay, it rocked my world. And then she's on my doorstep crying because she thought that something devastating happened. And that's how communication can get so construed on text and misunderstanding without it. Even if I had to put an emojicon in there, she might have figured it out a little bit better. But so I learned something very valuable that day. Use emoticons and be careful what you say, because what you intend is not necessarily what the other person is listening or is hearing.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great example because as you know, we all our communication is so brief and cryptic today
Yeah,
with messaging, and whether it's instant messenger or whether it's texting or tweeting, you have to be even more concerned about making sure that you communicate appropriately
yeah.
and reread it before you hit
Yes,
send.
yes.
I say,
Yeah, once or twice sometimes. Well, thanks, Ken. Ken Walls is online and he says, oh, Sharon and Lisa in the same room. Woohoo! And I shared. So thanks, Ken.
I can. I can. I see Roger. I see Teresa. I saw a lot. I even have some of my family on with us today. This
Excellent.
is
Well,
great.
hi, family.
Love it.
So, well, Sharon, I want to say thank you very much for joining me today on the Extra Credits All Star. And you and I are talking a little bit more about how bringing Sharon into the Extra Credits world for some learning for those of you who are watching this for continuing education credits. So I'm very excited about that. Thanks, Ken. He's calling us rock stars. Well, you're a pretty good rock star yourself there, Ken. And I see Ken
Yes, he
Ryber is
is. Yes,
on
he
as
is.
well. So but anyways, thank you very much, and have yourself a wonderful afternoon, and viva Las Vegas.
Yes. Have a great time.
I'm meeting up with
Have a toast for
Lisa.
me.
I'm meeting up with Lisa in a
Oh, you
couple
are?
hours, so we'll send you a great big hug when I see her.
Yeah. Send me a picture. I should be there.
Yes, you should be here. Next time we'll organize it.
Yep.
Anyways,
Sounds
thank you
great.
very much, Sharon. Have a good afternoon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.